What's going on there, everybody? I am talking to my friend Stephen Potter here, who is a worldwide trainer and a historian, and he's very researched and knowledgeable about a lot of very interesting things that are ultimately relevant to where we're at right now. So, he gives a brief introduction of himself and a brief synopsis of our human nature, our humanity, and how we got here, and all that stuff. So, hope you enjoy it. Can you just share a bit about your schooling?
I'm going to talk about religion first only because it's relevant. So I was raised, my father was a music minister and a pastor. My grandfather was a pastor. I've got a long list of pastors or military people. So we're either fighting or praying in my family pretty much. The way that I was raised was inside of a particular background of what man is or what woman is, right? And then just all that. So that was how I was raised that way. So the formulation of all of that was in studying different religions. So what is man to the Hindus? What is woman to the Hindus? What is all this? What is this human being crap anyway? So my whole question as a kid was like, what is this human being BS? Why do we do this stuff? And why do we act like that? And why do we believe that? So I was the annoying why kid, which didn't bother me. And the fact that it bothered other people, I felt was their problem. They should ask more questions. So the if you can imagine raising me. So then by about 12, I had figured out for myself that a lot of what we were taught wasn't based in fact. It was mostly opinion that had been regurgitated that didn't match with what was actually, like, if you read the Bible, it says one thing, but then you listen to what dude is saying at the pulpit, it's not a match, right? So, and that's not all pastors. I'm just saying I noticed some inconsistencies, right? So then I wanted to figure out why that was. And so then, I don't know if you remember Disney, sometime in my early teens, Disney came up with the gay pride thing, gay day thing. It sent a shockwave reverb through all the churches that the gay agenda was coming for their children. And, we all needed to be protected from Satan and gay people were evil and all this stuff. So then I asked my mother, why? Like, what's the big deal given that Jesus used to hang out with whores? Like, what's the problem? It seems like Jesus would hang out with gay people, actually. So, like, if it's the dregs of society, and then what's the disconnect? What's the problem? And she said, well, it's not biblical. And I said, based on what? And so then we argued about that for a while. And then the final argument was, well, you won't find it in nature. And I said, okay, that's your argument. You won't find it in nature. And she said, yes. I said, okay. So the internet had also happened. And so I started doing research. And I found out that there were over 1,400 different species that have what we could consider to be homosexual or transgendered, but that's the human languaging to describe what's happening. They don't talk about it. It's just happening. So then I came back to my mom and I said, well, did you know that male penguins not only mate for life, but they adopt abandoned eggs? And she's like, I can't hear that, whatever. So needless to say, my research started when I was about 8 and has carried all the way through. So then when I went into college, I wanted to then understand how the modern world became what it is. So I studied and got my degree in modern history, but in specific from 1432 to now. So what started happening around the Middle Ages, after the Crusades, into the Middle Ages, into colonialism, into slavery, into everything that people are talking about right now, into 2003-ish. So up to 9/11, to understand how did we go from the Black Plague to 9/11. So I studied intensive primary source research, which means reading actual documents from that time, from Latin America, from the United States, from Canada, from Europe, from the Caribbean, from Africa, England, China, some Middle East, but it was the spread of how did we get here? And then that got me to, well, how did we get there? So then I started studying religion again, but from a historical perspective, seeing how did Christianity become what it is? So then I went the other way. So then I went from 2001, 2003 back to what would be considered the times of Jesus. So then I did it that way. And so my research has been for the better part now of 28 years around religion, gender, and people, because it seems to be sex, money, religion. Those are about the three things that mess everybody up. And even if people aren't in a religion, it's because they've seen that and they don't want any part of it. And so then it's still impacting them, whether they practice it or don't. It's like the experience of it, the exposure to it. And especially in the Western world, religion has actually been the impetus to most of what we're dealing with now. And we're not even aware that we're living at the effect of it. Or not that it's wrong, but that the context, the lenses that people were viewing life through were lenses that we have had since approximately 324. And it's not that they didn't exist prior to that, but when Constantine converted to Christianity as a Roman Caesar and then basically force converted, you're talking about the equivalent to, and I don't have the exact geography number, so this is not going to be exact, but if you were to think about most of England down to Egypt, across over into Indo-Asia, that was the Roman Empire. And all of the major people, and it was expanding. And then you had Eastern Europe, and we have TV shows on it now. And, you know, for Uhtred and the Last Kingdom and, you know, stuff like that. You know, that stuff's not historical technically, but the conflict between the Danes and the English and all that stuff, like in the argument between, you know, you had to be a Christian king and you had to do all that stuff happened. So, and that was 1,000 years after the conversion. So they had to figure out how to get all these different people on one page. And you're talking about assimilating hundreds of different religions around the world under one flag and trying to do that in a way that's going to work. And it was a beast to undertake. So then the implications of that were far reaching. We're now dealing with the forced conversion and ideology of many, many, many conquered peoples throughout the years. And it was the Spanish after that, conquered Latin America. The reason why Brazil speaks Portuguese and no one else speaks Portuguese is because of a pope. And we don't get that Brazil only exists the way that Brazil exists because a pope drew a line on a page.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that directly answers your question, but that's the kind of space of my research and what my degree is in and why.
So that was Stephen Potter. He's got a lot of things to say about a lot of things. If you're interested in watching my episodes with him when they come out in the near future, subscribe to the channel so you can see them right when they pop up. We're going to be diving into some very interesting topics around what is happening right now in this Corona season. So, see y'all next time. Peace.